I spent most of my life feeling invisible. Not hated, not abused, not even treated badly in a way people could easily notice. No. It was something much quieter than that. Much deeper. Much more painful. I was ignored. Completely and silently ignored. And the worst part is, it didn't happen all at once. It happened slowly. So slowly that I didn't even realize it at first. Until one day, I woke up and understood something that broke me from the inside. I didn't matter. Not in my own home. Not to my own family. My name is Grace. I am 50 years old. And if you saw my life from the outside, you would probably think everything was perfect. A stable home. A husband with a steady job. 2 grown children. No drama. No shouting. No obvious problems. Just a normal, quiet family. But what people don't understand is, silence can be louder than arguments. Neglect can hurt more than anger. And being ignored can break you in ways no one else can see. I remember the exact moment I first started noticing it. It wasn't a big moment. There was no argument. No fight. No tears. Just a small, ordinary evening. The kind of evening that repeats itself over and over again. Until one day, it doesn't feel normal anymore. I was standing in the kitchen, cooking dinner, like I always did. The smell of food filled the house. Everything was ready. Everything was perfect, just like always. I called out, "Dinner is ready." No answer. I waited. Maybe they didn't hear me. I called again, a little louder this time. "Dinner is ready." Footsteps. My son walked in first, headphones in his ears. Didn't look at me. Didn't say a word. He just sat down and started eating. A few seconds later, my daughter came in, looking at her phone, laughing at something on the screen. She sat down, still typing, still smiling. Not at me, at her phone. And then, my husband walked in, loosened his tie, sat down, picked up his fork, and said, "Is there salt?" That was the first thing he said to me. Not hello, not thank you, not even a glance. Just, "Is there salt?" I stood there for a moment, still holding the spoon in my hand, looking at them, waiting. Maybe someone would say something. Anything. But no one did. They just ate, talked to each other, laughed, shared things. But not with me. Never with me. That night, after everyone finished eating, I stayed in the kitchen alone, washing the dishes. The sound of water running, plates clinking, the same routine, over and over and over again. And for the first time, a strange thought came into my mind. When was the last time someone asked me how I was? I tried to remember, but I couldn't. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And that feeling, that quiet, invisible feeling, started growing. Then came my birthday, a day that should have meant something, even if just a little. I woke up early that morning, just like always, made breakfast, prepared lunch, cleaned the house. Everything felt normal. Too normal. No one said anything. No happy birthday. No smile. No surprise. Nothing. I told myself, they're planning something. They're just pretending. They'll say it later. So I waited. All day. I waited. Evening came. My husband returned home. "Dinner ready?" he asked. Just like every other day. My children came home. Busy. Distracted. Uninterested. We sat together at the table. Just like always. And that's when I realized something. They weren't pretending. They had actually forgotten. That night, I didn't cry loudly. I didn't break anything. I didn't say a word. I just sat there, in the dark, alone, and accepted a truth I had been avoiding for years. I wasn't just unimportant. I was invisible. And slowly, very slowly, I stopped expecting anything. No appreciation. No attention. No love. Because expecting things only leads to disappointment. And disappointment hurts. Years passed. And nothing changed. Except me. Until one day, something completely unexpected happened. Something that would change everything. Something that would make the same people who once ignored me look at me differently, listen to me differently. treat me differently. It started with a phone call. A simple, unexpected, almost ignored phone call. I almost didn't answer the phone that day. It was an unknown number, and usually, I ignore those, because most of the time, they're nothing important, just random calls. Sales, mistakes, things that don't matter. And I had spent my whole life dealing with things that didn't matter. So, I almost let it ring, and ring, and ring, until it stopped. But something inside me, made me pick it up. At the last second, almost without thinking. "Hello," I said softly. There was a brief pause. Then a voice. Calm. Professional. Unfamiliar. "Is this Grace Williams?" I hesitated. "Yes, this is regarding a legal matter." My heart dropped slightly. A legal matter? I couldn't think of anything I had done. Anything that could possibly be legal. "I think you may have the wrong number," I replied quickly. "No, ma'am," the voice said calmly. "We have verified your identity." There was another pause. And then, the words that didn't make sense. "At your earliest convenience, we need you to visit our office regarding an inheritance." I remember going completely still. Inheritance? The word didn't belong in my life. It didn't fit. It didn't make sense. People like me didn't inherit things. We worked. We struggled. We managed. We survived. That was our reality, not inheritance. "I think there's been a mistake," I said quietly. "No mistake, ma'am," he replied. "All details will be explained in person." Then the call ended. Just like that. No explanation. No details. Nothing. I stood there for a long time, holding the phone, looking at nothing, thinking everything. Inheritance. The word echoed in my mind. Again, and again, and again. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, pretending it never happened, because that's what I had learned to do with most things in life. Ignore. Move on. Stay quiet. Stay invisible. But this time, something felt different. Something inside me didn't want to ignore it. That evening, I decided to tell my family, not because I expected anything, but because it felt like something I should share, even if they didn't care. We were sitting in the living room, everyone in their usual places. My husband watching television, my son on his phone, my daughter scrolling through social media. The same scene, the same silence, the same distance. "I got a call today," I said. No response. I waited. Maybe someone would ask. No one did. So I continued. "A legal office called me." My husband slightly lowered the volume of the TV, but he didn't look at me. "About what?" he asked casually. "Inheritance." There was a pause. A short one. Then my son laughed quietly. "Sounds like a scam." My daughter smirked. "Yeah, Mom, you should be careful." My husband shook his head. "Don't get involved in things like that. These people trick you." And just like that, it was dismissed. Ignored. Again. I nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right," I said. But deep inside, I didn't feel convinced. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the call, the tone of the voice, the confidence in his words. This is regarding an inheritance. What if it's real? The thought felt dangerous, because hope can be dangerous when you're not used to it. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual, not because I had to, but because my mind wouldn't rest. I sat at the edge of my bed, looking at my hands, thinking, questioning, doubting, hoping, all at the same time. What if it's nothing? What if it's real? What if this changes something? I took a deep breath, and for the first time in a very long time, I made a decision for myself. I'm going. I got ready slowly, carefully, as if the moment mattered, because maybe it did. I stood in front of the mirror, looking at myself, really looking, not quickly, not casually, but properly. There was a woman standing there, a woman who had spent her entire life taking care of others, sacrificing, giving, waiting, hoping, and slowly disappearing. "Maybe this is something," I whispered. "Not hope, Not yet. Just possibility. When I walked into the kitchen, everything felt the same. Exactly the same. No one looked up. No one asked where I was going. No one noticed anything different. And, for the first time, that didn't hurt. Because for the first time, I had something of my own. Something they didn't understand. Something they didn't control. I picked up my bag, walked to the door, paused for a second, then left, without saying anything. Because this time, I wasn't waiting for permission. The building was taller than anything I had ever entered before. Glass walls, clean floors, people walking confidently, like they belonged there. Unlike me. I stopped for a moment at the entrance, looking up, taking a deep breath. Maybe I shouldn't be here, I thought. But then, another thought came, stronger, clearer. If I don't go in, I'll never know. So I stepped inside. Slowly, carefully, as if I didn't belong. The receptionist looked up. Professional smile. Can I help you? Yes, I said nervously. I received a call about an inheritance. Your name? Grace Williams. She typed something into her computer, then paused, looked at the screen again, then at me. Her expression changed. Subtly, but noticeably. More respectful. More attentive. Please have a seat, ma'am. Someone will be with you shortly. Ma'am. That word felt strange. I wasn't used to it. I sat down, hands clasped together, heart beating faster. The room was quiet. Too quiet. Minutes passed. Or maybe seconds. I couldn't tell. Because time felt different. Slower. Heavier. Then, a man approached me, wearing a suit. Confident. Calm. Ms. Williams. I stood up quickly. Yes. Please come with me. We walked into a private office. He closed the door gently, gestured for me to sit, then opened a file. Thick. Organized. Important. Ms. Williams, he began. I'm going to explain everything step by step. I nodded, barely breathing. You had a distant relative, an aunt. I frowned. I didn't know her, I said softly. That's understandable, he replied. She lived alone. No children. No immediate family. He turned a page. After her passing, a legal search was conducted to find the closest living relative. He looked at me. You. I felt something shift inside me. A strange, unfamiliar feeling. She left behind significant assets. My fingers tightened slightly. Assets. I repeated. He nodded. Yes. Then he said something slowly, carefully, as if he knew it would change everything. A residential property located in a high-value area. My breath caught. And financial holdings. He flipped another page. Numbers. Rows. Figures. Too many zeros. I stared at them, trying to understand, trying to process, trying to believe. I think there's a mistake, I whispered. He shook his head gently. No, Ms. Williams. Then he leaned slightly forward and said the sentence that changed my life forever. You are now the sole owner of this estate. Silence. Complete silence. I couldn't hear anything. Not my heartbeat. Not the clock. Not even my own breathing. Because my mind had stopped. Can you explain this to me? I asked slowly. He nodded. Over the next several minutes, he explained everything. Every document. Every asset. Every detail. The house. Large. Beautiful. In a neighborhood I had only seen in magazines. The bank accounts. Savings. Investments. Funds. The total value was more than I could even imagine. More than my husband had earned in his entire life. More than my children had ever seen. This doesn't feel real, I said quietly. He smiled slightly. That's a common reaction. Are you sure this is mine? Yes. No hesitation. No doubt. For the first time in your life, Ms. Williams, this is yours. Mine. That word echoed in my mind. Again, and again, and again. Because my whole life, nothing had ever been mine. Everything I had done was for someone else. Everything I had given was to someone else. Everything I had been was for someone else. And now, for the first time, something belonged to me. I signed the documents slowly, my hand slightly shaking, not from fear, but from something else, something deeper. Change. When I walked out of that building, the world looked different, not because it had changed, but because I had. The same roads, the same people, the same sky. But this time, I wasn't invisible. When I reached home that evening, I didn't rush inside. I didn't call out. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, outside the door, holding something that had the power to change everything. And yet, for some reason, I felt completely calm. Not excited, not nervous, just quiet, because deep down, I already knew something. This wasn't just about money. This wasn't just about a house. This wasn't just about wealth. This was about truth. I opened the door slowly, stepped inside, and just like every other day, no one noticed. The television was on. My husband was sitting in his usual spot. My son was in his room. My daughter was on her phone. The same scene, the same silence, the same life. For a moment, I stood there, looking at them, really looking, and suddenly, everything became clear. This is who they were before the money. I walked into the living room. "I need to talk to you," I said. Something in my voice was different, because this time, they listened. We all sat down, and I placed the documents on the table. "I went to the office," I said slowly. "What office?" my husband asked. "The one that called me." There was a pause. "And?" my daughter asked. I looked at each of them, one by one. "It's real." Silence. Then I pushed the papers toward them. "Read it." They did. Slowly. Carefully. At first, confusion. Then, shock. Then, something else. Something I had never seen before. Interest. Real interest. "How much is this?" my son whispered. My husband didn't answer. He just kept reading. My daughter looked at me. "Mom, this is huge." Huge. That word echoed in the room. And suddenly, everything changed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But in small, noticeable, undeniable ways. That night, for the first time in years, they asked about me. "How was your day? Are you okay? Do you need anything?" The questions felt strange, unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable, because they didn't come from love. They came from awareness. They had finally noticed me, but not because of me, because of what I had become. Over the next few days, the changes became clearer. My husband started coming home earlier. My daughter sat with me longer. My son spoke to me more politely. They smiled more, talked more, listened more. Everything I had wanted for years was suddenly happening. But instead of feeling happy, I felt something else. Emptiness. Because I knew the truth. This is not real. One evening, my husband sat next to me, closer than usual. "We should plan things," he said. "Investments, properties, future security." I listened quietly, because now I understood something very clearly. He wasn't talking to me. He was talking to the money. Days passed, then weeks, and the more they tried, the more I saw the difference between real love and convenient attention. One night, I sat alone, thinking, what would have happened if that phone call never came? The answer was simple. Nothing would have changed. And that truth changed everything inside me. The next morning, I made a decision. Not quickly, not emotionally, but clearly. I'm leaving. When I said those words, everything stopped. "What?" my daughter said. "You can't be serious," my husband added. "I am," I replied calmly. "But why?" my son asked. "Things are better now." I looked at him and smiled. "Yes," I said softly, "they are. But not for the right reason." Silence. I don't want to stay somewhere where I only matter when I have something to offer. No one spoke, because they understood. And for the first time, they felt it too. Regret. Real regret. That day, I packed my things. Slowly, carefully, not with sadness, but with peace. At the door, they all stood there, asking me to stay, begging,
apologizing,
promising, everything I had once wished for.
but now,
It was too late. I'm not leaving because I'm angry, I said. I'm leaving because I finally understand my worth. And then, I walked away. Months later, life was different. Simple, peaceful.
real.
No pretending, no waiting, no silence. Just me. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. One evening,
My phone rang.
it was my daughter. Her voice was soft.
Different.
Mom, can we see you? I paused, then smiled, because this time, I knew something for sure. If they came back, it would be for me, not for what I had.